Hey guys, what the fuck is up, you guys? My name is emandan642, and welcome to Shitty Audio number 4. Today I am reviewing and ranking every Typo Negative album. Typo is another one of my favorite bands. They have a really great discography. I could safely say every one of their 6 studio albums are great. They are probably one of the few to only bands I could say that for. This album is hilarious. No other band is capable of making an album like this other than Typo Negative. What this is a fake live album. The band's label wanted them to record a live album, but instead the band re-recorded some songs off of Slow, Deep, and Hard with a fake audience over top. Not only that, the audience is constantly booing the band and going back and forth with Peter. It's hilarious. Peter gets into fights with the crowd, there is a bomb threat, and the police show up. It's crazy. But the album is genuinely good. There are 4.5 re-recordings of Slow, Deep, and Hard songs, but they're all tweaked a bit, making them different. There is a brand new song and 2 covers, and everything is great. The album opens with the crowd chanting, "You suck." The first song is I Know You're Fucking Someone Else, this album's version of Unsuccessfully Coping. I'll go over the original song when I get to Slow, Deep, and Hard because the originals are better, but the fake live versions are still worth a listen. They capture the same raw energy that the original versions have. You Are Afraid is the only original song on the album. It's very short at just over 2 minutes. It's a disturbing song about suicide. It acts as an intro to Gravity, the live version of Gravitational Constant. It's another great live version that does the song justice, up to the point that the song stops and the bomb threat ensues. The song Zero Tolerance is split up into 2 songs, the first being Kill You Tonight, which is just the first part of the original song. After that, we get a version of Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix called Hey Pete. I'm not too familiar with the original song, but it's a great cover that switches up some lyrics and has some vocals done by Kenny Hickey. The rest of Zero Tolerance is concluded in Kill You Tonight Reprise, which is my favorite part of Slow, Deep, and Hard. Again, I'll talk more about that when I get into that album, but this song is awesome. It's as fiery and hard-hitting as the original song and has more vocals by Kenny. The closing song of the album is a cover of Paranoid by Black Sabbath. The song is incredible because it takes a 2-minute long song and extends it into 7 minutes. Not only slowing it down, but it incorporates parts of Iron Man as well as some original material from Typo. It's an excellent cover and definitely my favorite from the band. It does the original song absolute justice. The Origin of the Feces is an incredibly unique album that you won't really like unless you are a Typo fan. But it's a one-of-a-kind album and there's nothing really like it. The last album the band recorded before Peter Steele sadly passed away in 2010. This album continues a lot of the sound from their previous record, Life Is Killing Me. There are some unique performances from the instruments to Peter's vocals. It's different in a way. Prior to this album, Peter got out of a hard time in his life, and after he got better, he became a devout Christian. That new side of him shows in some of the lyrics. It's a big change from everything he's written before, especially the early work. I don't care for it much or agree with a lot of it, but that is great for Peter. It's nice leaving off on a lighter note rather than work like World Coming Down. But it makes it all the more sad that he passed away. Dead Again is the only album that I don't have a favorite song off of or don't often come back to. Every other album has a couple of songs, but this album doesn't. Every song is good though, and they are all very solid, but none of them truly stand above the rest, in my opinion. But even though it's the worst actual studio album from the band, it's really solid and good. The opener, Dead Again, picks up with this awesome bass line starting the fast and heavy song. You could tell that the band doesn't take itself very seriously. The whole album takes itself a lot less seriously compared to previous work. While Life Is Killing Me had a couple of serious songs, Dead Again is even less serious. Tripping a Blind Man is a killer song about kicking a man when he's down, basically. Like I said before, the performances are unique. It's different, but it's a welcome change. The song is awesome. September Sun is a really good piano ballad that is haunting when taking Peter's death into consideration. Kenny's vocals are really good in the chorus. It's open and anthemic. These Three Things is a very Christian song. Again, I don't really agree with the subject matter specifically on this song, but the song is still great. The first half of the song is good, but the second half is this very epic, massive song that I really like. The guitar riff is cool, the end is very anthemic, Kenny's vocals are great. The guitar melody is great and kinda sounds like Come Suser Todd starting at 12:30. The first half of the next track, She Burn Me Down, is really great. I like the melodic parts and the cool instrumental. The second half is kinda boring and repetitive to me. Some Stupid Tomorrow is a surprisingly great thrash metal song. It sounds much like Slow, Deep, and Hard, but much cleaner, of course. It's a pretty epic track. I still want to come back to it over Slow, Deep, and Hard, but it's a great track and a good change of pace in the album. The closer, Hail and Farewell to Britain, is another good anthem. It starts with a really neat bass line. It's an odd song about British people, I guess, but it's a good closer. Dead Again is a very good album all in all. It's impressive that a band's worst studio album is this good. Not even my other favorite bands can say that. Coming right after the darkest and most depressing album in the band's discography, this album is the complete opposite, being the band's most upbeat and lighthearted album thus far. A lot of the subject matter is still dreary, but the album sounds very energetic and outgoing. It's a very different change of pace for the band. It's poppier and more accessible. It may be one of the band's worst albums, but it's still very good. The doom metal side of the band is very scarce here, going for more of an alternative metal sound that was prevalent at the time. I Don't Wanna Be Me, one of the band's most popular songs off the album, is one of their best and a prime example of the new sound. The lyrics are pessimistic, but the sound is fast and heavy. I really like the lyrics. They paint a really neat picture. The song is short for a Type O Negative song too, being less than 4 minutes long when the actual song stops. Then for another minute and a half, this eerie audio of a train and footsteps plays. Less Than Zero has a groovy instrumental and unique vocal delivery. It sounds pretty upbeat, but it's still a kick-ass song. I really like the bridge. It's still groovy with a sweet guitar riff. Todd's Ship Gods is another great guitar riff and more upbeat sound. The songwriting for all these songs is still great, but they could come off kinda one note and static. A Dish Best Served Coldly is one of the more somber sounding songs. It's an almost brutal song about revenge. The instrumental is killer and meshes with the vocals very nicely. How Could She is a weird track, where Peter lists a bunch of women from cartoons and television. The song is fine, it's nothing special, but it feels off and weird to me. The title track is another great darker, heavier song. The lyrics paint a dreadful picture of being on life support, and how it could have the opposite effect, making life worse for someone. The song is heavy with a great doom metal breakdown. Nettie is another great track. The instrumental is one of the best off the albums. The guitar is heavy and the keyboard is used very nicely. Anesthesia is a fantastic song. It's dark and haunting. It's heavy and fast. The lyrics are depressing. It's about the pain felt after being betrayed. The piano and keyboard is really great and contrast well with the heavy guitar. Peter's vocals are the most intense off the album. The song feels like it belongs off October Rust or World Coming Down. This album has a lot of contrasting sounds and themes. It has more variety of songwriting. There are more songs and they're all shorter. Some of them don't really stand out well, sadly, but all in all, this album is very good.
Trust and you'll be trusted.
This album is angry and heavy and incredible. This album has grown on me a lot. This was Type O's debut album, and it sounds very much like Peter Steele's previous band, Carnivore. It blends crossover thrash with doom metal and gothic metal, by far the heaviest album by the band. The whole album is about Peter wanting to kill his girlfriend after she cheated on him. It's very different from the lyrics Peter would later write. He would write about women in a much softer and tender way. This album is incredibly raw and has a level of emotion not often captured in music. The album is pretty straightforward and doesn't deviate from its sound much, but it works in its favor. Each of the songs are very long, all being around 10 minutes give or take. With the 2 interlude tracks, the album is just under an hour, being the shortest Type O Negative studio album. Each of the songs are divided into parts or cantos, which makes things easier to talk about since each song is so long, and they don't follow basic song structures. The opener, Unsuccessfully Coping with the Natural Beauty of Infidelity, is an incredible anthem. Peter perfectly expresses how he feels about his girlfriend cheating on him. The song starts with a high-pitched feedback sound before the guitars ramp in. The verses are angry and visceral, and the lyrics are pessimistic. The song has many parts to it. We get a guitar solo early on, then an angry verse ending the first part of the song. His lyrics are very painful and memorable in this song. He sings, "The only things that last forever are memories and sorrow. Yeah, I'm a man, but it still hurts." Or quite bluntly, "You make me hate myself." The real anthemic part starts in the 3rd canto, I Know You're Fucking Someone Else. This lasts the rest of the song and it's amazing. The next track, Der Untermensch, the subhuman in German, is the only song not about Peter's girlfriend. It's about the homeless drug addicts Peter dealt with working in New York. The intro starts with this spooky percussive noise, then a very doom metal riff. The verses are fiery, the lyrics are demeaning. Peter goes at it on these socioparasites, as he calls them. The transition from these slow doomy parts to the fast fiery parts are great. Zero Tolerance is another epic track with some disturbing noises. The guitar riff and solo in the beginning are great. The verses are angry and thrashy. About 4 minutes in, after a slow breakdown, these heavy drums start. Then we get this excellent verse from Peter depicting how he will kill his girlfriend and the man she is cheating with. This is the best part of the album. It's raw and emotional and shocking. Prelude to Agony perfectly blends awesome guitar riffs and slow doom breakdowns. The song ends with this disturbing sound of a woman screaming as a jackhammer is inserted into her you-know-what. Glass Walls of Limbo is a interlude track with just some noises like glass shattering and deep cathedral vocals from Peter, the kind of thing he would do more in his later work. This song sounds really cool and all, but it's nearly 7 minutes long of this sound. The second interlude, The Misinterpretation of Silence and Its Disastrous Consequences, is a minute of literal silence. The closer, Gravitational Constant, is about Peter's desire to kill himself. The lyrics are very descriptive and the vocals are melodic compared to the typical screaming of the rest of the album. The song leaves a somber taste in your mouth as the last line Peter sings, "Suicide is self-expression." Thankfully, Peter was okay and made it past this point in his life. Slow Deep and Hard is a great album that shows the band's heavy roots and as much of what the band would do later on. The band's darkest and most depressing album. This was a time in Peter Steele's life when many loved ones were passing away, and World Coming Down is about death, loss, and drugs. Very little of the album is about love, like most of their other work is, and there is very little humor on this album too. The interlude tracks, which are usually some kind of joke or weird sounds, are disturbing death sound effects. Sinus about cocaine, liver about alcohol, and lung about smoking. Lung being the most disturbing, with heavy breathing, a heart monitor going out, and a woman crying. It's an incredibly raw album, but not in the same way as Slow Deep and Hard. It's much more mature and depressing. Opener, White Slavery is about being addicted to cocaine. This song starts with a slow, heavy doom metal breakdown. The sound is more sparse on their previous record, but it dominated this one. Everyone I Love Is Dead is one of the band's best songs. Like the title implies, it's about the loved ones Peter has lost. The lyrics are somber and dreadful. The hook is excellent. Peter yells, "God damn it." Then the song blasts with a heavy instrumental. You could really hear the pain and intensity in Peter's voice. He uses softer vocals in the chorus, but it still carries that same weight as when he's yelling. There is a great anthemic guitar solo near the end, as Peter yells, "All dead." Who Will Save This Sane is an intense song about apathy and fake sympathy towards mental health. The song features an interesting keyboard melody that is played in the beginning, then much later. The album doesn't use the keyboard as often as previous albums like October Rust, but instead focuses on the strings like their early work. World Coming Down is a slow burning song. It's heavy and deep. After an intense breakdown, the song quiets down to drums, vocals, and guitars. Creepy Green Light is one of the two songs about love, more specifically bringing love back from the dead, keeping the themes of death. The song is very gothic, the most off this album. It's faster and features higher guitars. Next track, Everything Dies, is another dark song about loss. This track being almost cathartic with Peter's vocals. He'll mention someone, then he'll casually say, "Then they died." It's still dark and somber. The changes into this neat guitar melody with a unique sound, then a typical doom breakdown starts. I really like the whiny guitar at the end of the song. Pyretta Blaze is the only lighter song off the album. Thematically, it sounds like it belongs on October Rust, but it has more of that sound from World Coming Down. It's a good change of pace and keeps the album grounded. All Hallows Eve is another Typo Negative favorite of mine. The bass intro sounds so crisp. The instrumental is awesome and I love hearing more vocals from Kenny. I love the imagery too. The song continues the themes from Creepy Green Light. It's dark, gothic, and excellent. World Coming Down is another great album and one of their most unique. The themes are dark and haunting. The subject matter is the darkest of their entire discography. It's a great, moody, heavy album. This album evolves the band's sound and makes them into the gothic metal legends that they are now. The album is heavy, dark, and amazing. It's a much more open and nuanced album than Slow Deep and Hard. It has the same sense of humor, but the writing is very different. It's about women and relationships, but in a very different, much softer light. The first two songs, Christian Woman and Black Number 1, are perfect. The best songs in Typo Negative's discography. They are long masterpieces that define the band and their gothic doom metal sound. The rest of the album is great, but no songs manage to come close to the highs of those first two. Christian Woman is about an ex-girlfriend of Peter who is a devout Christian. The lyrics are intimate and sexual. The song is very beautiful in a dark, disturbing way. That's a great way to explain many of Typo's songs. The first canto has heavy guitars with Peter's heavenly vocals. It's orchestral sounding, almost like it could be played in a church. The second canto starts with a beautiful acoustic guitar which the band doesn't use often. The lyrics describe the girl's faith, but get more direct about her sexual desires. The third canto is my favorite. The instrumental picks back up with the heavy guitars and gothic organs playing. Peter repeats the line, "Jesus Christ looks like me," which on its own, I love this line. There's something about saying that from this gothic vampire-looking 6'8", hunky, masculine, sexy man that Anyway, the line is about how his ex-girlfriend would make him dress up like a priest or Jesus Christ. The song transitions smoothly into the much darker and creepier sound of Black Number 1. This album has some excellent transitions, by the way. The song is about another girl Peter was with. This one was the ultimate goth girl, as he says. It's also poking fun at Peter's fans and the kind of people that the band attracts. The name Black Number 1 comes from hair dye. And this song is funnier in today's context with people's recent obsession with goth girls. The song starts out with this long, eerie intro, until one of the best screams from Peter. It's an excellent anthem. It's one of their longest songs too, and it delivers with every second. In my opinion, their best song by far. Kill All the White People is a fiery, heavy, brutal track. It's one of two tracks of this album that are about them being called neo-Nazis and racists. Summer Breeze is an excellent cover and one of the band's best. It's heavy and slow. The instrumental feels warm somehow because of the lighter subject matter. Set Me on Fire is another great, beautiful sounding song. The lyrics are simple, mostly repeating "She Sets Me on Fire." But it's a pretty lighthearted song with a neat sounding guitar solo in the background. We get one of a few interlude tracks of this album next, Dark Side of the Womb. I find this one most interesting because of its creepy use of industrial sounds and how it uses a baby crying as an instrument. We Hate Everyone is the other song about how the band was labeled neo-Nazis, but also fascists and communists. It's just a big fuck you to everybody, but it's one of the best songs off the album. The guitar is the heaviest on the entire album here. It sounds brutal. The vocals are playful and we get some Kenny lines too. The song slows with this industrial sounding breakdown. It's cool and creepy sounding. The song then picks up nearly 3 minutes in with this incredible sounding guitar melody. It's one of my favorite moments on the album. It's haunting sounding. The vocals are now very serious. Right before the end we get another chorus like from the beginning. Right before the end we get another chorus from the beginning of the song, just as a last fuck you. The title track, Bloody Kisses, is a great ballad written about Peter's cat dying. He wrote it to be much more metaphorical, like he lost an actual loved one. Even if it's about a cat, the song is a great, long, haunting ballad. The album ends with Can't Lose You, a really interesting sounding song with unique guitars and a long, slow instrumental ending that abruptly cuts off, ending the album. I love this album. Like I said, the first 2 songs are the real standouts, but every song is great in its own way. I go back and forth between October Rust and Bloody Kisses often. I think Christian Woman and Black Number 1 are their best songs by far, but I think as a whole, this album is better. October Rust evolves the band's sound even further into the gothic style, more than the doom or metal style. It's still a heavy album, but just not as aggressive or loud, with lighter subject matter. The album has some dark songs, but it has much lighter ones too. Love You to Death is another perfect song in their discography. It's a beautiful piano ballad. It perfectly shows the tone of the album with heavy instrumentals, but more pianos and synths and lighter vocals and subject matter. The song has excellent, meaningful lyrics with great imagery. The sound is so crisp. I love the song so much. It feels much more mature than what's come before. The song really sounds like something you would hear in the autumn, in October. It's moody and it sets the tone so well. Be My Druidess is another great love song, this one being much more lighthearted. The song starts with a really great drum and bass groove. I love the part when the song slows down with this nice guitar melody. The slow breakdown is one of the few doom metal parts of the album. Green Man is another more lighthearted song. It's a really beautiful song too. The lyrics describe nature and it pictures a vision of spring instead of autumn. It feels much more open and lighthearted. It's one of the few songs that aren't about love. It's about Peter's time working as a park manager. Going from spring to winter, next track, Red Water, Christmas Morning, is a depressive song describing Christmas as being a sad day after loved ones have passed. It's a very moving and somber track. The instrumental is dark and foreboding. It's one of the most meaningful songs off the album. It feels like a song that'd be right off World Coming Down. The song comes in between more lighthearted song, making this song stick out even more, but it fits right in perfectly. My Girlfriend's Girlfriend is a very groovy, catchy song. It's one of the few songs that portray love in a less sensitive way. Cinnamon Girl is another great cover, originally by Neil Young. This cover is groovy and energetic. The instrumental is exciting. It fits right into this album and its subject matter. I don't think the cover is as good as Paranoid or Summer Breeze, but it's a damn good cover that makes this album whole. For a while, my favorite Type O Negative song was Wolf Moon. It's still a top favorite from the band, an easy top 5. It has a dark tone to it. I love the heavy instruments. Any song with a long build-up and a great payoff is an easy favorite for me. The verses are dark, similar to Love You to Death or Red Water, but the choruses sound somewhat more lighthearted, similar to Be My Druidess or Green Man, but they blend together very nicely. The song quiets down and a great keyboard melody plays over top. The song ramps back into the heavy sound briefly. The song ends with an uplifting sounding ending that I really like. It's really cool sounding and makes the song very diverse. The closer, Haunted, is a heavy, slow, and deep doom metal song. It's the album's longest song at just over 10 minutes, and it's a really great closer. The song is pretty static before the spoken word interlude from Peter, a little over halfway in. Then the great doom instrumental ends the song, and just like Can't Lose You from the previous album, the song abruptly ends. This is another amazing album by Typo Negative. They have many great songs and albums from their entire discography, so picking one album is hard, but October Rust just happens to have the most.
Typo Negative has one of the best discographies of any band, in my opinion. The consistency and quality and lack of any subpar albums makes them an easy favorite of mine. Fuck you.